My 18th birthday should have been pure celebration. A small gathering with friends' pizza and reminiscing about Mom. She had been gone 3 years, but I could still feel her presence in every corner of this house. I was blowing out candles when my stepfather Harold barged an envelope in hand. His face held that familiar smug expression as he dropped it before me. Inside was a rental agreement. My heart sank as I realized what was happening. What Harold did not know was that I had a secret too. Mom had left me more than memories. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe to find out what happened next. I grew up with the most incredible mother anyone could ask for. Jessica Wilson was not only beautiful but had a heart of pure gold. We lived in this modest 3-bedroom house in Springfield since I was born. Every inch of it held memories of her infectious laughter and unwavering support. She worked as a financial consultant, often bringing work home, but always making time for our nightly reading sessions. Those quiet evenings discussing everything from classic literature to my school troubles formed the foundation of who I am today. Mom had this remarkable way of planning for everything. She started my college fund when I was still in diapers. She taught me about saving money for my first allowance. Always prepare for storms during sunshine, she would say, with that knowing smile. I never fully understood just how thoroughly she lived by that philosophy until years after her passing. Everything changed when I was 12. Mom came home early from work one day, her face unusually pale. The cancer diagnosis came like a thunderbolt on a clear day. Stage 3, breast cancer. Our world tilted on its axis. Suddenly, our conversations shifted from my school projects to treatment options and contingency plans. Even facing her mortality, she remained focused on securing my future. Harold Morgan entered our lives 6 months into Mom's treatment. He was her co-worker, initially just bringing her work documents and updates. He seemed genuinely concerned about her always arriving with soup or groceries. I was grateful someone was helping when I felt so helpless. When their friendship blossomed into romance, I supported it despite my reservations. Mom deserved happiness, especially now. They married in a small ceremony at home when I was 13. Mom looked radiant despite her thinning hair and frail frame. For a brief period, things improved. Harold took care of household tasks, drove Mom to treatments, and even attempted to bond with me through awkward fishing trips and basketball games. I tried to appreciate his efforts, but something always felt slightly off about his attention toward me. His smiles never reached his eyes when Mom wasn't looking. As Mom's condition deteriorated, subtle changes appeared in Harold. His patience thinned. Comments about household expenses increased. He started referring to things as his rather than ours. When I mentioned these observations to Mom, she would change the subject, but I noticed a new worry line appearing on her forehead. During her final months, Mom insisted on private conversations with me whenever Harold was out. She would ask me about my long-term goals and make me promise to finish college no matter what happened. Once I caught her hiding documents when Harold came home unexpectedly. When questioned, she simply said she was organizing her personal papers. 2 weeks before she passed, Mom arranged for her old friend and attorney Franklin Williams to visit. They spoke privately for hours while Harold was at work. That evening she held my hand with surprising strength and whispered, "Trust Franklin when the time comes. Everything is taken care of." I did not understand the significance of those words then. After Mom died, the house became a mausoleum of tension. Harold transformed almost overnight. Gone was the caring facade, replaced by a controlling taskmaster. He converted Mom's office into his man cave within weeks, boxing up her remaining belongings to the attic, despite my protests. He established strict household rules about noise, friends visiting, and even which foods I could eat from the refrigerator. School became my sanctuary. I threw myself into studies and extracurricular activities to minimize time at home. My friendship with our elderly neighbor, Mr. Thompson, became increasingly important. He had been friends with Mom for years before Harold appeared and always welcomed me for cookies and conversation about her. Harold discouraged these visits, calling Mr. Thompson a nosy old man, which only made me treasure the connection more. On my 16th birthday, A certified letter arrived addressed to me. Harold was furious that I received mail. He knew nothing about demanding. I opened it in front of him. Something in my gut told me to resist. I manufactured a story about it being college information and slipped it into my backpack. Later, alone in my room, I discovered it contained instructions from Mom through her attorney. The letter explained that additional documents awaited me, but I should tell no one about them until my 18th birthday. The mystery both confused and comforted me. Mom was still looking out for me somehow. I hid the papers in my school locker, occasionally rereading them, when Harold became particularly unbearable. The letter became a talisman of hope that someday things would change. I just had to be patient and cautious until then. As my 18th birthday approached, Harold became increasingly agitated. His comments about my future took on a sharper edge. Almost an adult now. Adults pay their own way, he would say during dinner. No freeloaders in the real world. Each statement felt like a warning shot across my bow. His criticism intensified over trivial matters. My laundry left in the dryer too long became evidence of irresponsibility. Leaving a light on in my room transformed into wasteful disregard for who pays the bills around here. He started itemizing grocery receipts, highlighting items I consumed as if building a case against me. His rules multiplied weekly. My curfew tightened to 9:00 p.m., despite my perfect academic record. Friends could visit only when pre-approved, which approval mysteriously never materialized. He insisted I report my whereabouts hourly when outside the house, claiming parental concern, though his tone suggested surveillance rather than care. The subtle psychological warfare wore me down. I began doubting my perceptions, wondering if I was indeed the burden Harold implied. My confidence eroded under his constant critique. Only during visits with Mr. Thompson did I feel any semblance of normalcy. One afternoon, about 2 months before my birthday, Mr. Thompson invited me for iced tea on his porch. After ensuring we were alone, he revealed something that changed everything. "Your mother asked me to wait until you were nearly 18, he said, his weathered hands trembling slightly. I was more than her neighbor, Lowell. I managed some of her investments. Over the next hour, Mr. Place. Thompson explained that Mom came from family money she had deliberately kept private. Her grandparents had left her a substantial trust, which she had carefully grown through savvy investments. Harold knew she was financially comfortable, but had no idea about the extent of her wealth. Jessica was smart. She noticed changes in Harold after the marriage. She consulted me about protecting your inheritance, Mr. Thompson explained. He advised me to contact Franklin Williams, immediately providing his card with a handwritten note that would ensure the attorney spoke freely with me. The meeting with Franklin transformed my understanding of everything. In his wood-paneled office, he produced a thick folder with my name on it. Your mother was remarkable, he said with evident admiration. She restructured everything after her diagnosis. Franklin explained that Mom had placed the house in a trust with me as beneficiary effective on my 18th birthday. Harold had never been added to the deed, despite his assumption otherwise. Additionally, she had established a separate educational trust and investment portfolio that would provide for my college and beyond. Harold was given lifetime tenancy rights only while serving as your guardian, Franklin explained. That ends on your birthday. Legally, the house becomes fully yours to control. The revelation stunned me. I spent days processing this information, cycling through disbelief validation, and eventually strategic calculation. With Franklin and Mr. Thompson advising caution, I developed a plan. Rather than immediate confrontation, we agreed a methodical approach would protect my interests best. My birthday party was small by design. Just 4 close friends gathered in our backyard for grilled burgers and cake. Harold made his displeasure obvious, hovering at the edges with crossed arms and frequent sighs about the noise. When my friends sang happy birthday, his scowl deepened as if their joy physically pained him. As my friends prepared to leave, Harold made his move. He called for everyone's attention and presented me with an envelope. Special birthday present, he announced with a smirk. Welcome to adulthood. Inside was a formal rental agreement, specifying monthly payments of $800 plus half of all utilities. The document detailed additional fees for common area usage and storage space if my possessions occupied areas outside my bedroom. My friends watched in uncomfortable silence as Harold launched into his prepared speech. "Time to learn what real life costs," he declared with evident satisfaction. "No free rides anymore. Consider this your first adult lesson." He explained I had 1 week to sign or make alternative living arrangements. The barely concealed pleasure in his ultimatum burned through my embarrassment into pure resolve. My friends departed with awkward goodbyes and sympathetic glances. When they left, I retreated to my room, calling Mr. Thompson immediately. Though tempted to reveal everything then, his counsel prevailed. Let him think he has the upper hand, while we finalize everything he advised. The next morning, I visited Franklin with the rental agreement. He chuckled darkly at Harold's overreach. "This actually helps our case," he noted, pointing out clauses that contradicted Harold's legal standing. We accelerated our preparations, finalizing paperwork, to transfer control of all assets on my birthday. For the next month, I performed the role Harold expected. I took extra shifts at my part-time job at the local bookstore. I paid the first month's rent with a personal check, which Harold proudly deposited with a lecture about building payment history. His smugness grew with each passing day, along with his demands. Suddenly the grass needed weekly cutting. The garage needed reorganizing. Each task came with commentary about earning my keep. Meanwhile, I met regularly with Franklin and the estate managers Mom had selected. I learned about property taxes, insurance requirements, and maintenance schedules. I reviewed the financial portfolios and educational trusts. Each meeting strengthened my confidence and resolve. Mom had prepared me for this moment, through years of teaching responsibility and values. Now I would honor her foresight by standing firmly for myself. Harold's emboldened behavior escalated rapidly after receiving my first rent payment. Barely 2 weeks later, he left a revised agreement on my bed with rent increased to $1,000. His justification was scribbled in the margin market adjustment for comparable properties. When I questioned the sudden increase, his response chilled me. "Don't like it. There's the door. Plenty of landlords would explain how lucky you are." That evening, he casually mentioned his retirement plans included selling the house next year. "Time to downsize to something on the coast," he said, watching my reaction carefully. During an argument about the dishwasher, Harold's mask slipped completely. "Your mother left us nothing but this house," he spat. "The least you can do is contribute before I sell it." The statement confirmed what Franklin suspected all along. Harold genuinely believed he owned everything. With my birthday just days away, I coordinated final preparations. Franklin assembled complete documentation of Harold's financial activities since Mom's death. We discovered disturbing patterns. Harold had systematically withdrawn money from accounts designated for house maintenance. He had attempted to access my educational trust multiple times, stopped only by the legal firewalls Mom established. Mr. Thompson provided written testimony about conversations where Harold had discussed selling the house once the kid is out. His sister Susan, who had always been kind to me during her infrequent visits, proved an unexpected ally. When contacted discreetly, she revealed Harold had borrowed substantial money from her, promising repayment from the house proceeds once he sold it. The night before my birthday, I invited Harold and Susan to a special dinner. I claimed it was to thank them for their support as I entered adulthood. Harold accepted grudgingly, while Susan seemed touched by the gesture. I prepared Mom's famous lasagna recipe, set the dining room table with her best china, and placed important photographs of her around the room. The dinner began pleasantly enough. Susan brought wine and reminisced about Mom's fantastic cooking. Harold remained suspiciously quiet until the conversation drifted toward real estate. Susan mentioned property values increasing in our neighborhood. Speaking of which, Harold interjected, animated for the first time that evening. "I might list this place by summer. The market is hot." He detailed his plans for using the proceeds for a beachfront condo, speaking about the house as exclusively his asset. Susan looked confused. But I thought Jessica left this for Lowell eventually. Wasn't that always the plan? Harold waved dismissively. She never finalized anything. Everything passed to me as her husband. The blatant lie hung in the air like smoke. The moment had arrived. I excused myself briefly and returned with a leather portfolio. Actually, I have something important to share with both of you. I said, my voice steadier than expected. I placed Mom's handwritten letter on the table first. I wanted to read what Mom wrote before showing the legal documents. Harold's expression shifted from annoyance to wariness as I began reading. My dearest Lowell, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you have reached your 18th birthday. I need to explain decisions I made to protect your future. Shortly after marrying Harold, I realized I had made a terrible mistake. His behavior toward you changed when he thought no one was watching. His interest in my finances became concerning. Rather than create conflict during my illness, I worked privately to secure your inheritance. Harold's face drained of color as I continued reading Mom's methodical explanation of how she restructured everything to protect me. She detailed her suspicions and observations that led to her decisions. She expressed regret for bringing Harold into our lives, but pride in the man she knew I would become. When I finished reading, I placed the trust documents, deed, and financial statements on the table. The house has always remained in Mom's family trust with me as beneficiary. You were granted temporary tenancy only as my guardian, which legally ends today. Harold stared at the papers speechless for several seconds. Then rage contorted his features. This is garbage. Forged documents. Your mother would never. They are completely authentic. Susan interrupted, reviewing the paperwork with growing comprehension. Jessica always was thorough. Harold lunged for the documents. I will not be cheated by some ungrateful brat. His arm swept across the table, sending Mom's china crashing to the floor. Susan grabbed his arm as I collected the papers safely. This is not up for debate, I stated firmly. The legal transfer occurred at midnight. Franklin Williams has filed all necessary paperwork. You have until the end of the week to remove your belongings. Harold cycled through tactics rapidly. First came threats of legal action, then questioning my capacity to maintain the property. When those gained no traction, he shifted to guilt. After everything I did during your mother's illness. His voice trailed into calculated vulnerability. Susan witnessed his transformations with growing horror. Harold, stop. These documents are legitimate. Jessica protected her son from you because she saw something I refused to see. For 3 hours, Harold alternated between rage manipulation and bargaining. He offered to reduce my rent, then eliminate it entirely. He suggested co-designated ownership. With each desperate proposal, his previous declarations of absolute ownership exposed his true character more clearly. Eventually, exhaustion replaced anger. Where am I supposed to go? He asked, defeat evident in his slumped shoulders. That is not my problem, I answered, channeling strength I never knew I possessed. Just as my housing would not have been your concern had I not signed your rental agreement. The weekend after my birthday passed in surreal slow motion as Harold packed his belongings. Susan helped coordinate his move to a temporary apartment while he sorted things out. His stunned compliance suggested he still could not quite believe his plans had collapsed so completely. As Harold carried boxes to his car, Susan approached me privately. I need to apologize for not seeing him clearly, she said. There were signs I ignored because he is my brother. Jessica tried telling me once, but I dismissed her concerns. Her regret seemed genuine, and I assured her I held no grudge against her. Harold made one final attempt at manipulation while loading his television. You realize maintaining this house costs thousands annually. Property taxes alone will eat through any money Jessica left. You are making a mistake refusing my help. His transparent attempt to regain a foothold fell flat. Mom prepared me for everything, I responded calmly. The trust includes maintenance funds, tax allocations, and emergency reserves. I have full support from her financial team. When Harold finally drove away, I felt conflicting emotions. Relief dominated, but unexpected threads of grief, and even pity wove through my thoughts. Not for losing Harold himself, but for the relationship that could have been had he chosen to be a genuine stepfather rather than an opportunist. The following week, I met with Mom's complete financial team. The extent of her planning astonished everyone. Beyond the house and educational trust, she had established investment accounts that had grown significantly. Her attorney revealed additional letters she had written for specific milestones in my life: college graduation, 25th birthday, and if I ever had children. Your mother was the most forward-thinking client I ever represented, Franklin told me. She anticipated almost every contingency. He shared stories of her determination during those final months, often meeting with him between treatments when she barely had strength to walk. With Harold gone, I began the process of reclaiming the house as my own. I converted his man cave back into Mom's office, discovering he had merely stored her belongings rather than discarding them as I had feared. In the attic, I found boxes of family photos he had hidden away, including precious images of Mom and me that I had thought lost forever. Mr. Thompson became a frequent visitor, helping me tackle maintenance projects and teaching me skills every homeowner needs. Through him, I connected with Mom's wider circle of friends, who Harold had systematically excluded from my life. Their stories filled gaps in my understanding of who she had been beyond just my mother. The emotional aftermath proved challenging to navigate. A recommended therapist helped me process the complicated feelings of triumph, mixed with lingering anger. Your mother protected your financial inheritance. Dr. Martinez observed, but she also left you a legacy of standing up for yourself. You honored both gifts. Learning to trust my instincts became an ongoing process. Harold had spent years undermining my confidence and perceptions. Recognizing and countering those internalized messages required conscious effort. Each decision I made independently strengthened my belief in my own judgment. For the summer, I maintained my bookstore job while preparing for college that fall. Unlike Harold's assumption, I planned to live in the house and attend the local university for undergraduate studies. Mom's financial planning meant I could focus on education without working full-time. With Franklin's guidance, I established a small scholarship in Mom's name for students affected by cancer and their families. The process of giving back provided healing I never anticipated. Each recipient reminded me of how Mom's foresight created ripples of positive impact beyond just securing my future. Susan stayed in touch, gradually rebuilding a relationship independent of her brother. She helped me understand family dynamics that had shaped Harold long before he entered our lives. While his actions remained inexcusable, the context helped me release some anger that had been poisoning my own peace. As summer transitioned to fall and college classes began, I found myself reflecting on what family truly means. Mom created security through legal documents, but her greater gift was showing me that love expresses itself through protection, preparation, and presence. The house represented not just financial security, but the lengths she went to ensure I would never be vulnerable to someone like Harold. I often wonder what Mom would think of the man I am becoming. I hope she would be proud of how I handled Harold. Not just in standing firm, but in doing so without becoming bitter or vengeful. The greatest victory was not taking back the house, but reclaiming my sense of self-worth and dignity. Sometimes justice arrives in unexpected packages. Mine came wrapped in property deeds and trust documents delivered exactly when needed. If you have ever stood up to someone who underestimated you, share your story in the comments below. Did you handle it differently? Would you have confronted Harold sooner? Let me know what you think. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need encouragement to stand up for themselves. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply know your worth and refuse to accept less.